You have gasoline that hit $1.98 yesterday in a couple of states. You have gasoline's way down. The price of oil has dropped substantially, but oil is down into the $60, $65 range now per barrel.
That's President Trump touting big wins for U.S. consumers due to his energy policy and lifting of burdensome Biden-era regulations. Joining me now is House Energy and Commerce Committee member, Texas Congressman August Pfluger. Congressman, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
Great to see you as well, Maria.
And, of course, earlier this week, you hosted EPA officials at the Permian Basin, the energy capital of West Texas, your district, to address these federal oil and gas regulations that were put in place under the Biden administration. Tell me about that, and how is Trump cutting back on that red tape, and what are the challenges that energy producers are still facing? Because I know this is night and day when you look at the policies, correct?
Well, you're absolutely right, and they are still facing a number of challenges, but let me just start by saying what a difference an election makes. You know, we hosted one of the EPA officials under Biden in the Permian Basin last year, and this was at a point where they were in an all-out assault against the oil and gas industry, that they wanted to completely do away with it. And, you know, we took this individual through, we showed their team how we have done the work of reducing emissions and, you know, really working to be more efficient. But what a difference an election makes to bring in Mr. Scott Mason, who's the Region 6 director, as well as Lee Zeldin, who showed up in the Permian Basin, and to demonstrate to them the work that has been done in the Permian Basin throughout the other producing regions in the country to really produce efficient, affordable, reliable energy. Some of the challenges, as you mentioned, though, I think most producers there, they really want a sweet spot. And that sweet spot price-wise is somewhere between $65 and $80 because they want predictability. Rig counts are already starting to move downward because they're making business decisions and not quite sure about what the future holds. When we talk about lower gasoline prices, yes, that is very, very important. But it's also important that we have a good, predictable supply and demand. And that's what producers are worried about right now is just predictability. So they're going to hang in there. They always have. We've always survived. But a good sweet spot, $65 to $80, $85, really helps our economy flourish.
Sure. Well, look, they also need predictability on policy because these are long-term contracts that these oil companies and oil suppliers and drillers are making. And so, you know, they need to know that permitting, for example, is going to be is sustained, permitting, deregulation so that they can actually get the permits on a timely basis and they can actually invest the way they want to. How can you, as a lawmaker, codify some of these executive orders that President Trump has put in to ensure that they don't go away in 4 years?
Well, President Trump has taken very aggressive action on deregulation. Administrator Lee Zeldin leading the way with 31 deregulatory acts. And as chairman of the Republican Study Committee, we are championing an initiative that would codify many of those actions already. And you're exactly right. They want predictability, to not have to compete against the U.S. government, to not have to compete against the overreaching nature of that far left liberal machine that we've seen for so long. And they want to know that the investments that they're going to make are actually going to return profits that they can put into more drilling, right, more access to energy, that we can actually have affordable, reliable energy, not just here, but also for our partners and allies.
Yeah. By the way, they also need predictability on taxes. Are you going to get it done?
Absolutely. And this is a big piece. I mean, this is a Super Bowl of legislative action. Very proud that we've moved forward, that we are going to start tackling not only in the Energy and Commerce Committee, but in the Ways and Means Committee for the extension of the tax cuts. This is so vital, a legacy-making piece of legislation, probably the most important legislation we'll pass in 40 or 50 years.
Wow. Meanwhile, the border, let's talk about it. Under Trump's border crackdown, the U.S. Army has taken control of a long sliver of land at the southern border in New Mexico. Now considering it part of a military base, I spoke with the Interior Secretary, Doug Burgum, and he explained it. Watch.
If someone now steps across the border onto that strip controlled by the Department of Defense, they're basically trespassing on a defense installation. And with that, that allows our military that are at the southwestern border that they can detain someone until the Border Patrol, who has arrest authority, can arrive. So it allows for greater coordination and a stronger legal foundation between the great work that's going on between our Border Patrol and the DOD.
Congressman, all of this as new Customs and Border Patrol data shows some of the lowest border encounter numbers ever recorded. So if that's the case, why is the military presence necessary now?
Well, I think it's an all hands-on-deck approach, all of government approach. And, yeah, look at those numbers. I mean, incredible decrease just from having President Trump come into office. We needed a new president. We have good laws. We can still refine those. But let me remind people, as far as the military is concerned, Maria, I was a fighter pilot. We have the ability, and we have military right now who are designed to keep us safe from any sort of air or space attack to the continental United States, to the homeland. So that's something we're already doing. What we faced over the last 4 years was nothing short of an invasion. And for us to have one more tool, one more deterrent layer, one more aspect of the military providing the ability to deter those that would come into this country illegally is absolutely the right call to send that message that you can come into this country, but it's going to be the right way through law and order and a legal path.
Deterrence.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's deterrence. It's all about deterrence and having, that presence along the southwest border where you saw the Biden administration pull everything.
Yeah.
And, I talked to many Border Patrol agents over the last 4 years when Biden was in office, and they said there's no consequences. There's no reason for them not to come. There are consequences now. The military presence is very important.
Understood. Congressman, it's good to see you. Thanks so much. We so appreciate your time.
Thank you, Maria.
All right, Congressman August Pfluger. I've got one important thing you need to know about ahead of next week. That's next. Stay with us.